drawers are the thing that I'm the most proud of. Recently, I've had some moments of just being stranded in random areas without my van being able to turn on. So when I built my van, I had to keep Akela in mind. There are so many facets to who we can be and what we can do. I do a lot of organizing and writing. Hi everybody, my name is Linnea and this is Akela, and we live full-time in this 2016 Ram ProMaster. So come on in and I'll show you around. So welcome to my kitchen. These first two cabinets, this is where I store all of my cooking, coffee, hot water stuff. And this is all dry goods. These kitchen cabinets are set back a little bit more than the cabinets in my bedroom, just so that I have some more headspace when cooking and moving around in here. I decided to put this wall in here because my van is so small. I wanted it to feel kind of like this was its own nook. And I think it's important to mention that, so I did the build completely by myself and I had a pretty low budget. So a lot of the things that you see in here are very cheap. They're just kind of made to look good. For instance, my backsplash, I got all of this for $3 at the Restore, so that was a really good find. And my countertop is just plywood. That's kind of made to look nice with some veneer. I'm really big into mugs and pottery, so I decided to put these hooks here and display mugs. I obviously do not drive with them like this. Instead, I store them in my drawers. And actually, I think out of everything that I've built out of wood in my van, my drawers are the thing that I'm the most proud of because they took a lot of time and energy and planning, and I love them so much. So I have 3 drawers that are the same size, and the 2 bottom ones are a little bit bigger for larger stuff, obviously. So I keep a lot of my cooking utensils in this top drawer. More cooking stuff. My setup is pretty minimal, so basically I only cook with like 1 large pan and 1 small pot. I keep dry goods in this 3rd drawer, and this very bottom drawer is where I keep all of my toiletries and makeup and lotion. It's limited space, but it works for me. For my cooking setup, I wanted to have enough counter space for when I'm not cooking, if I have other projects to do. So I just use a 2-burner Coleman stove that I keep up here in my bulkhead, which I created into its own little cabinet. So this is what I cook with, and this works out really well for me. I use the small propane containers. Originally, I was gonna put in a large propane tank and just decided that for my build, it took up too much space where I would have rather used it for gear. So that's what I ended up going with. And when I can refill these, if I'm around people with the large propane tanks, I will do that just to eliminate some waste. My fridge is just under 50 liters. It's just a small Dometic 12-volt fridge. Doesn't pull much, so it works really well with my small electrical setup as well. This is my counter and sink setup. If you've noticed, I have a lot of natural wood and grain showing because I wanted my feel to be like a cabin in the woods. I built these 2 little shelves just to house kind of my essentials, things that I grab and use often, which right now looks like headlamp, bear spray, fillet knife, buck knives, Leatherman, all the important stuff. I have a very small sink. My thought process with this was to create just more counter space, and I kind of regret that. I wish my sink was a little bit bigger because it is really hard for me to do dishes right now. It kind of just houses my dishes when they're dirty, and I usually end up doing them outside. I have a very simple water system. So what I use are just 2 blueies. So I always have 2 full blueies, and then I use 1 for my gray water. This makes things very easy for me and simple. It's easy for me to dump my gray water. I like having blueies that I can remove and fill up wherever I can find water. And I just have a small foot pump. So nothing electrical with this, and I love it. It works really well for me. So over here, I wanted to create kind of a bedside table area just to help separate these 2 areas. And these 2 cubbies, I made this specifically for my Jackery, which since I'm always using my Jackery, I now use this to house what I generally do my dishes in, and then some other junk. And this bottom one is where I store all of my cleaning stuff, like my little vacuum, my broom, some extra bags, soaps. Deciding to do van life was definitely a long time coming. I learned about it when I was in college, and pretty much since then I have made different choices in my life to make it an easier transition. I have a ton of experience doing backcountry stuff, and that was really the main inspiration for me to go small, is so I could access the things I really want to do out in the wilderness. So I gained a lot of experience with that, and then I started my own online business so that I could be remote, and working in a small space out in the middle of nowhere would be really easy for me. And once those things kind of lined up and I felt that it was doable, even though it was really risky for me at the time, I just found a van and put some money down and went for it and started the build. So I did decide to install a swivel seat, and this has been a game changer, especially for when I have people visiting, because really there's no place for people to hang out. And this is really great because I have installed a little extra pull-out counter. Originally I did that for extra cooking space, but this has worked really well for when I'm working and I don't want to work in my desk area. So I love this swivel seat, super comfortable, and adds a lot of space to the van. At least it feels like it does. Opens things up a lot. I decided to put a cabinet cover on this, mostly just so people don't see my junk, and I really love that. And in here, I, like I said, keep my 2-burner stove. That's where I store it when I'm not cooking, and just a bunch of extra shoes and some extra tools up there as well. I use the front part of my passenger side because I'm just solo, it's just me and Akela. I use that to store basically all of my tools and or projects or things I need to fix. So I have my, toolboxes up there. I made this wall out a little bit so that I could have some storage space here. So Akela's chuck it, that's important. And I'm able to slip in 2 100-watt solar panels. These are Jackery. So those fit in really nicely there. And this is also my shower tent. This is basically the only way that I shower when I'm on the road or when I don't have a friend's house to shower at. And it works really, really well for me. I love that it can pack down because I have such limited space. So it fits perfectly right in this little groove. You get your kennel? Good job. Good girl. So when I built the van, I obviously needed to keep Akela in mind because we're both living in here full time, and she loves small, dark places, very much a den animal. So I decided to build this room for her, which is obviously very spacious and has taken up a lot of my space for outdoor gear, but that's okay because she's very happy in it. Underneath her blankets, I store her kennel door. So if she ever needs to be put away, I can take that kennel door out and latch it, and then it's more of a traditional kennel. But mostly we just keep it open and she hangs out in there whenever she wants. So I work online, I work on my computer a lot, and I needed a space that was comfortable to work, but also utilized the space that I had in different ways. So I decided to put in this bench here, and what is stored underneath this bench is my Chinese diesel heater. And I use a small diesel tank. It doesn't tap into the van's gas tank because this is a gas vehicle, it's not diesel. So that works out well there. And I did go with the Chinese diesel heater because of the price. Like I said, my budget was really small for my build. So it was either the Chinese diesel heater or no heat. And I've absolutely loved it. I would highly recommend. And then it just blows out from the very bottom of that bench. And this is where I do a lot of my work. I found this slab of live edge at a sawmill in the scrap pile and decided to make a little table out of it. Did some inlay to make it my own. And this is where I do a lot of my work. Under here, I just use the space for dirty laundry. And then just behind that, I store extra fuel for cooking. I first was starting the van build / living in the van, my income came from my own business. I had a one-on-one nutrition and fitness business, which was all remote, it was all online. And that's what was allowing me to live this lifestyle and also work on the van build whenever I needed to, because I could make my own schedule. And since that time, as social media has grown and my YouTube channel has grown, I now pretty much only do YouTube, and I really, really love creating videos. So along with my YouTube channel, which is kind of my main source of income, of course there are affiliate links associated with that, and I create content for other platforms as well, like Instagram, and TikTok has been a newer one for me that I'm getting to know. And all of that just kind of works together and allows me to have multiple streams of income that keeps us on the road full time. When I designed and built my bed, I made sure that it was as high as it could be so that I could still sit up, but obviously it's pretty much perfect for me. And that was just due to wanting enough storage in my garage for as much as I could fit in there. I also installed both of these windows with that in mind so that they would be kind of right at my head for airflow purposes and to keep us cool at night. These two cabinets are where I store my clothes, and that is plenty of space for me. So this is where usually my head goes, unless we're totally uneven, and then I'll just sleep with my head that way. But with that in mind, I wanted to create a pretty low profile place to store things, and that's why I threw up this little shelf that I use mostly for books and my speaker, and I usually store my chair up here, which is outside right now. I have two different switches, and this one controls just the main lights, and it's on a dimmer, and I installed this side as a dual dimmer switch. So one side controls the under cabinet lighting in the kitchen, and then the other side controls the lighting in the bedroom. And I've really loved that. I decided to throw up a little filing cabinet because I do a lot of organizing and writing and needed a place for all of this to go so that it wasn't spread out in my house. This is one of two fans that I have back here. Even though my van is very small and one fan is usually the way to go, because Akela and I spend a lot of time in the desert and in warm places, I decided to put in two of them so that I could have a lot of pushing and pulling with the airflow, and it really helps us when we're in warm places. I was a complete newbie. I had never built anything like this before, didn't know any electrical, any woodworking, nothing. So gaining all of these skills and the confidence that comes with it, very, very transformative experience in my life was just the build alone. If you are like me, a solo female that wants to jump into this lifestyle, I want to encourage you to know that you can do this, whether you have a partner, whether you don't, whether you have experience, whether you don't, whether you've ever built anything before, because if you have just the time and capacity to learn, you can do this all on your own, and it's going to be challenging and it's going to be really hard, and you will learn a lot about yourself, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So this is my garage, and this was a main focus for my build because Akela and I spend most of our time just out in the wilderness, public lands, backcountry stuff, so I needed space for my gear. So over here I have a lot of Akela's gear, like her backpacking pack and life jacket, cooling vest, and then I also have this little corner where I keep my workout stuff. So I like to lift, and I really needed that to be a part of my lifestyle even on the road. So I have an assortment of weights. I also keep Akela's dog food back here, and this is where I store my extra water bluey. All of this is gear for camping, climbing, all sorts of stuff. My fly fishing stuff is always available. I love fly fishing. And then extra clothes. This is mostly winter clothes because I don't use it often because I stay away from the cold. And then on this side, I have my big backpack for backcountry trips. Behind my backpack is where I installed all of my electrical. I have just a single 100 amp hour battery, deep cycle gel, which is connected to my 1000 watt inverter, and I have 200 watts of solar on the roof. So this is the same live edge slab that I use for my desk on the inside, and I decided to keep it the full length and just store it under my bed. This way I can slide it out, and I have little grooves that I place it into that are on the lower part of my doors. That way I can have a really quick and easy table out here that I like to sit at or cook at, or just to enjoy the view and have my morning coffee. I guess something that I encourage a lot of the women in my life to do is just to do their own stuff and to make a lot of mistakes and to let themselves look like a fool, because nobody actually cares, and this life is just for experimenting and for experiencing and for doing cool stuff. And I think that we just so often get trapped in what others think that we should be doing, or how we should be as people, when in reality there are so many facets to who we can be and what we can do, and we don't ever have to be put in a single box. We can do so many amazing badass things, and I think that we should do them and thrive and work hard and build the life that we want. I hope you enjoyed the tour, and if you'd like to see more of my lifestyle and our travels and the build, you can head over to Linnea and Akela on YouTube, and that is the same for Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for watching.